Agents are converging on your route.
Got it, operator.
They know Noah's about to learn how secure AI can transform his business. They want him blind.
Come on, Noah. We have to reach Marthius before it's too late.
Why are they trying so hard to stop me?
We have to move.
Agents are behind you. They don't want Noah to understand secure AI, governance, or automation.
Hold on, Noah. We're not letting them keep your business in the dark ages. They fear you choosing clarity.
Why are they chasing me? Because secure AI means automation, protection, and productivity, and they lose control if you upgrade.
If Noah learns secure AI strategy, his competition doesn't stand a chance. Take him to Marthius.
Hold on, Noah. We're almost there. Marthius is waiting for you, and everything will soon be clear.
Noah, you felt it. That pull toward a more secure, efficient, intelligent business, that feeling is real.
And you were right to follow it. Every leader reaches a moment where staying the same becomes riskier than evolving.
I just want to make the right move.
Then choose. Take the blue pill, and nothing changes.
Manual processes, security gaps, missed revenue, while others move ahead with secure AI.
Take the red pill, and you embrace a secure AI strategy, governed, protected, and designed to grow your business.
I'm ready. I'm taking the red pill.
Then let's transform your business securely.
If you're ready to move past the blue pill, IT Pros Management Group can be your red pill.
Security-first AI, real productivity gains, a roadmap built for your business, not the hype.
Every advantage you gain is one less your competitors control.
Connect with IT Pros Management Group today and start building your secure AI strategy before your competitors do.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is Randy Martinez from IT Pros Management Group. A quick thumbs up. Can I get a thumbs up and sure everybody can hear me, or can anybody acknowledge they can hear me? Okay, got a hand up. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, again, welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed that little video we put together. That was made with AI, if you didn't know. So that whole video was AI generated using the likeness and resemblance of myself and our team. So let's see what happens today. If you take the blue pill, stay everything the same, or if you decide to go in Noah's direction and do the red pill and start making some changes to your business by using AI. So if some of you have, this is the first time, we have had a previous presentation in the past. In part one, we talked about why AI matters for business today. We're focused on the single skill decides whether AI actually helps you or quietly wastes your time, and that skill is how you communicate with it. Let me set some expectations up front. This session is practical and non-technical. It's built for business leaders, not engineers. By the time we're done, you'll have prompting frameworks that you can put to work tomorrow across every department, and you'll have a clear picture of how Microsoft 365 Copilot fits into your tools your teams already use every day. One more thing about how we approach this. IT Pros Management Group, we come at AI as a security first. As we watched the video, we talked about secure AI. That's how we approach AI and everything else we do around technology, security first. And we hope organizations adopt it responsibly rather than just rushing into it. For some of you, I've seen some faces, names that I recognize. And for those who haven't, again, my name is Randall Martinez. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for IT Pros Management Group. Been doing this for quite a while now. Over the last several years, I've worked closely with business leaders on Microsoft 365, security, automation, and AI adoption initiatives. Today, we'll focus on cutting through the hype around AI and really discuss how organizations can use Microsoft Copilot specifically, securely, responsibly, and effectively to improve day-to-day operations. So I'm excited to share what we've learned and help you identify practical opportunities you can apply within your own organization. An important thing that doesn't get mentioned in a lot of these webinars that I attend regarding technology, and in any webinar really, is that technology should ultimately help people spend more time on what matters most, your family, your relationships, and building a meaningful legacy. That is really important to me personally. As you can see on the screen, you've got members of my family that are really important. I'm a husband, a father, and a proud papa for several grandchildren. So that is what's really important. Technology is just a vehicle to get there. So why should you listen to me? Well, I've had a long, successful career in technology, spanning every sit in IT, from a help desk technician to now a chief operating officer for a large IT support consulting business. I've also authored several books, and I'm an active public speaker in the technology field. So I go on TV shows, do podcasts. So done a lot of things in the technology field, really to promote and educate the masses on technology and to help them kind of break through that clutter of the technobabble, as I call it, and really understand how it can help your business. As AI becomes more accessible, many organizations find themselves asking two important questions. The first, how can we use AI to improve our business? Business owners and operational leaders want to understand how tools like Microsoft Copilot can help employees work more efficiently, automate routine tasks, improve service delivery, and ultimately increase profitability and competitiveness. The second question is, how do we do this safely? For executives and organizational leaders, the concern isn't just productivity, it's governance, security, compliance, and risk management. Leaders need to be confident that employees are using AI responsibly. Underline the word responsibly. That sensitive information is protected and that appropriate policies and guardrails are in place. So before we dive into today's content, I think it's important to set expectation. This webinar isn't really about technology. It's about business outcomes. Technology simply happens to be the tool that helps us achieve these outcomes. If someone believes technology is merely a cost center and not a strategic investment, many of the opportunities we'll discuss today won't resonate with you. The same is true for organizations that are committed to maintaining the status quo and are actively looking for ways to improve efficiencies, customer experience, or business performance. Now, the reality is that AI is quickly becoming a competitive differentiator. Organizations that learn how to leverage it effectively and securely will be able to move faster, make better decisions, and create greater value for customers. So today's session is designed for leaders who are curious, forward-thinking, and looking for practical ways to leverage AI while maintaining appropriate governance, security, and controls. Now, you don't need to be technical to participate in this. You don't need to be an AI expert, but you need to be open to exploring new ways of working and basically developing new opportunities for growth. So this is the foundation of what this whole presentation is. So if you happen to be one of these people that aren't really geared to this, get your afternoon back, go to lunch, have a nice day. But if you are forward thinking and you want to be curious about what's going on, then I strongly suggest you kind of listen up and pay attention and take some screenshots, take some notes, and we'll get going here. So here's a central message for the entire session. AI does not replace clear thinking. There's one saying that I always say to people: do not abdicate your responsibility to AI. As a human, as a business person, a business leader, a business owner, do not abdicate. And if you don't know what the word abdicate means, it means don't give up. Don't give up your responsibility as a human, your intelligence, to AI, okay? AI does not really replace clear thinking. It rewards it. AI isn't a shortcut around thinking. It's an amplifier to it. Better prompts lead to better strategy, sharper analysis, clearer communications, and real productivity. The quality of what you get out of this genuinely depends on the quality of what you put in. Leaders who can frame a problem clearly, say what good looks like, give useful context, get dramatically better results than people who type a vague request and hope for the best. Same tool, completely different outcomes. And I think this is genuinely good news if you're experienced business persons. The skills that make you effective in a meeting or in an email, clarity, context, knowing your audience, are exactly the same skills that make AI work for you. You're not starting from zero here. You're already have the instincts. What we're going to do over the next hour is turn those instincts into repeatable frameworks. But first, let's be honest about how most teams are using AI right now. Let's name the problem plainly. Most teams use AI as a search engine. So what is a search engine? Google, Bing, those type of things. A couple of keywords in, scan the results, move on. That habit caps the value almost immediately and leaves most of what AI can do sitting on the table. Here's the thing. These models are not indexes of web pages. They're capable of reasoning, drafting, analyzing, and role-playing an expert, but only when you give them something to work with. Think about the example on screen. Give me a marketing plan. One line in, what comes out back is a bland template that could belong to any company in any industry. A well-structured request, on the other hand, produces something you could actually act on Monday morning. Communicate with AI like it's a skilled assistant or a business advisor, and it responds in kind. And I want to reassure you this is a learnable communication habit, not a technical one, which brings me to the reframe I want you to really take away from this. Here's the reframe. Prompting is not a technical skill. It's a business communication skill. I want to take the intimidation factor off the table right now because a lot of leaders assume this is a job for the IT team, the IT guy, or someone with prompt engineer in their title. It isn't. Prompting is briefing. It's the same thing you would do when you hand work to a capable new employee. You tell them what role they're playing, what the task is, who's it for, what format you want it in, and what a good result looks like. That's it. If you can write a clear email or a brief with a colleague before a client meeting, you can prompt as well. So I'd encourage you to drop the idea that this is coding. It's delegation, it's clear communications, and those are leadership skills you already have. And I'll show you where you're headed today. I'll give you some very good ideas here. So let me give you the map so you know where we're going. We'll first start with foundations. Why identical questions can produce wildly different answers. Then the anatomy of a strong prompt, the building blocks of a business grade request. From there, we'll move into 5 prompting frameworks that I'm going to give you today. RTF, RACE, CRAFT, POSTAR, and RISEN. Those turn into foundations, into repeatable structures you don't have to reinvent each time. Those are acronyms, obviously, so don't worry. Again, we're not techno-babbling here. You'll see what these acronyms stand for. Then we'll look at concrete examples across departments, operations, HR, sales, marketing, and finance, so you can see how your own work using AI would apply to this. After that, Microsoft 365 Copilot in the flow of your work, meaning how these skills apply directly into things that you currently use every day, Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, Teams. And we'll close with responsible use and practical next steps for moving from ideas to results. As we go, note the frameworks that fit your role. Let's begin. Why the same question gives different answers, okay? So, why does the same question give you different answers? Here's the mechanism. In business terms, AI has no memory of your business and makes no assumptions unless you provide them. Every output is shaped entirely by the signal in your prompt, plus the way the model works. Change the context, the audience, the format, or the constraints, and you change the answer, often dramatically. So the 7 levers on this slide are the ones you control. First, context is background about your situation. Instructions are what you wanted to do. Audience is who is for. Constraint, cover the length, must-haves, and things to avoid. Format decides whether you get an email, a table, or bullets. Example, give it a sample to imitate. And success criteria defines what good results actually look like. Great prompts set these deliberately. Weak prompts leave them blank and let the model guess on your behalf. Now let's assemble those levers into the anatomy of a strong business prompt for you guys, okay? So strong business prompt. These are the 8 building blocks of a professional prompt. You rarely need all 8 at once, but knowing them means you can diagnose why an output missed, instead of just being frustrated with it. Roles set the expertise. Act as a CFO is a role, for example. Task is the specific job you want done. Context is the background that only you know. Audience shapes the language and the depth. Format decides whether you get an email, a table, or a slide outline. Constraints give it realistic things like length, word choices, what to avoid. Tone controls the voice, whether that's consultative, executive, or nice and friendly, warm, fuzzy feeling. And success criteria tell the model what's done, what that well actually means. What does really good look like to you is what you're giving the model. If you take one thing from this slide, take this. When an output disappoints you, come back here and ask which block you left out. The frameworks we're covering next are really just convenient recipes that combine these same ingredients. So before we get there, let me show you the difference these blocks make side by side, okay? So this is the slide where the whole kind of idea that I've been talking about most of the time clicks for people. So let's slow down. On the left, the weak prompt. Write a sales email. That's it. Gives the model nothing to work with. So it invents something generic that could belong to any company on earth. Okay, this is kind of, we're getting to almost the realm of hallucination. AI does hallucinate. I mentioned this in our first webinar. This is where you get into that arena where it's just going to start kind of making things up to please you, the overlord, the AI overlord of the AI. It'll start trying to please you. Now, the strong version act as a B2B sales strategist. Write a concise follow-up email for a COO at a 100-person professional services firm concerned about AI security. Use a consultative tone and end with a call to schedule a strategy call. Listen to the ingredients in their role. A B2B sales strategist. The task, a follow-up email. The audience, a CEO at a 100-person professional services firm. The context, they're concerned about AI security. The tone, consultative. And success criteria, it ends with a call to schedule a strategy call. Same tool, radically different outputs. And notice the strong version isn't longer just for the sake of it being longer. Every single clause removes the guesswork out of the model that would otherwise make it up on its own, which leads us to core principles behind all of this. I want to pause here because this is the one line to remember if you forget everything else I'm telling you today. The clearer the instruction, the more useful the output. Clarity in equals usefulness out. There's a near linear relationship between how precisely you describe what you want and how valuable the result turns out to be. And I find genuinely empowering because it means you don't need to learn secret commands or technical trick. There's no hidden syntax you're missing. You just need to be clear, the same way you'd be clear when you're delegating important work to a person you respect. If you've ever handed off a project and gotten back something that wasn't what you had in mind, and believe me, I've done that myself, you already understand this dynamic. The fix is the same in both cases. Be specific about the outcome you want. Now, the frameworks coming up are simply reliable ways to be clear every single time. So you're never starting at a blank page. So let's look at some of these 5 at a glance here. Here are the 5 frameworks at a glance. I want to introduce these as a toolkit, not a test. Nobody needs to memorize all 5. There's no quiz at the end. This table maps each one of them, how you'd actually reach for it. RTF is your everyday quick tool. Low complexity, great for something like a vendor onboarding checklist. RACE, steps up for analysis and polished professional outputs. Think of sales account research. Craft is your context and communication workhorse. A customer email or LinkedIn post. CoStar shines when persuasion and specific audience really, really matters, like executive sales outreach. And Risen is built for complex workflows, planning, something as involved as an AI adoption roadmap, for example. Now, my advice is to pick one or two that fit your role day to day and get genuinely fluent with those. The others are there waiting when a task calls for more structure. So we'll spend the next, few slides here taking each one in turn with a template and a real business example, starting with the fastest one, RTF. And before we switch to the next slide, there are more. These are the ones that I felt would be more impactful for this group for attending this webinar. But there are a lot other ones that, as we move forward in time, we have other webinars we'll bring up. But these are the ones I think will be really impactful and you could actually start using today. So let's start with the simplest one, RTF, which stands for Role, Task, Format. This is the fastest framework we'll cover. And honestly, it's the best on-ramp. If you're skeptical about AI because it takes about 10 seconds to write, there are only 3 ingredients. Role tells the model what expertise to bring. Task, a specific job you want it done. And the format controls the shape of the answer. So you're not reformatting everything yourself afterward. RTF is built for the dozens of small tasks that fill up a normal workday, a checklist, a set of questions, a quick first draft. Here's what it sounds like in practice. Act as an operations manager, create a vendor onboarding checklist, format it as a numbered list grouped by week. Very simple, very straightforward, but this is a valid conversation or communication you would have with an AI model. And this works on any AI model, by the way, not just Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, any of them. This format works across the board. Notice that even this very simple structure beats a bare question because it removes what? The guesswork about what expertise to use and what the output should look like. So let me show you how that same pattern travels across 4 different departments. So here's RTF working in 4 different parts of the business. And I want you to look for your job on this slide. In operations, act as an operations lead, create a vendor onboarding checklist, format it as a numbered list. Now, if you're in HR, act as an HR manager, draft interview questions for a client services role, format as group sections. If you're in sales, act as a sales consultant, create discovery questions for a first call, format as a bulleted list. And in marketing, act as a marketer, draft a campaign outline for a webinar, format as a short, structured brief. The pattern is identical every single time, role, task, format. That's exactly why RTF is so easy to build a habit around your deciding what to do. You're just filling in, those blanks. Pick one of these and try it this week. Pay attention to that format instructions because that's what makes the output immediately usable instead of something you have to clean up over and over again. Now let's step up the framework built for higher stakes work. Our second framework is RACE, which stands for Role, Action, Context, and Expectations. RACE adds 2 ingredients that really matter when the work is higher stakes. The template reads, you are a role, take this action, use this context, and meet these expectations. Context is where you feed in the specifics of your situation. The client, the numbers, the constraint, the things only you know. Expectations is where you define the standard, something like evidence-based, no more than 1 page, suitable for a board. Reach for RACE whenever the output has to hold up professionally. So an analysis, a recommendation, for example, a client-ready deliverable. This is where you would want to use this format. The context slot is the biggest lever here by far. The more relevant detail you give, the less the model has to invent. And inventing is where you get generic or wrong responses. I've seen single extra sentences on context completely change the depth and relevance of an answer. So now let's look at RACE as it produces, different results as we move forward. These examples on slide show RACE handling analysis and judgment, not just drafting. So on the sales side, research this account, summarize the company its likely profiles, and 3 tailored talking points. That's something a rep can walk into a call with. For leadership, analyze these 2 options and recommend one with the trade-offs and risks laid out for a decision. It's a useful as thinking partner, not as a decision maker. In operations, perform a root cause analysis for a recurring daily and propose the 3 highest impact fixes. That's real structured problem solving. And in HR, turn this policy update into a clear, empathetic communication for all staff. Under 300 word, which takes something dry and makes it more human. In every one of these contexts is doing the heavy lifting. The more real detail you paste in, the more specific and useful the output. And every one of them still needs a human to review it and own the final call. Next up, we're going to do the framework. I teach your communications first. Framework 3 is craft, which is context, role, action, format, and tone. I call this the communication and context workhorse because it puts tone right at the front and center of the request. Here's why that matters. When you're writing something actual people will read, a customer email, a LinkedIn post, an all-staff announcement, voice matters just as much as substance. Craft leads with context, so the model understands the situation, then sets the role for the right expertise, defines the action, fixes the format, and finally dials in the tone. Warm, confident, formal, plain spoken, whatever the moment calls for. So if you're rolling this out to a team, this is the framework I teach marketing people, sales, internal communication folks first. And here's the key point. Specifying tone is precisely what stops AI writing from sounding generic or robotic. It's the difference between something you can send and something that reads like a machine wrote it. So let me show you some 4 cases that we can look at where the tone actually will change. Here are 4 communication tasks where the tone choice changes the whole result. The marketing example, write a LinkedIn post announcing our webinar. 3 short paragraphs, tone confident, no hype. That no hype instruction is deliberately on brand for a security-first advisor that doesn't overpromise. The customer example, draft an email answering a pricing question, tone helpful and reassuring, not defensive. That's a sensitive conversation and the tone carries it. Internally, write an all-staff announcement about a new tool, tone clear and positive, keep it under 200 words, and that executive level draft message from the CEO on our AI approach, tone, measured, credible, forward-looking. Again, tone is critical in this particular framework. In each of these, the context and tone slots are what make the draft usable with light editing rather than a complete rewrite. But let me be clear about the role AI is playing. It gives you a strong first draft to react to. The leader still shapes the final voice. Now let's move on to the next framework, built specifically for persuasion. Framework 4 is CoStar, and it's the most complete framework we'll cover for persuasion. It stands for context, objective, style, tone, audience, and response. What makes it powerful is that it separates objective style, tone, and audience into their own dedicated slots. And that precision really matters when you're trying to move a specific person to take a specific action or act in a certain way. Objective forces you to name the single goal, a reply, a meeting signature. Audience makes the model speak to the actual reader of the message. And that's huge because a skeptical CFO reads very differently from an enthusiastic founder. Style and tone shape how the message lands, and response fixes the output format. So you want to use CoStar for outreach, for proposals, and for any message where the stakes and the audience are both well-defined. It takes a little longer to write than RTF, no question about it, but it's absolutely worth it when your message really has to land. So let's see how it's aimed around 4 different targets. The 4 examples here for CoStar Sure pointed at persuasion with clear targets in mind. So in sales, executive outreach to a CFO where the objective is a 20-minute call and the audience is risk aware and time poor. Naming both of these means the message respects their time and speaks straight to their concerns. In marketing, a webinar registration email where the objective is to sign up and the tone is credible and benefit led, not salesy, which fits our no hype type of brand. On the customer side, a reassurance message after an issue where the objective is restored trust and the tone is accountable and calm. It leads with accountability because that's what rebuilds trust. And for proposals, for example, an introduction that frames value for a mixed executive committee. So it has to balance strategic and practical framing. So here's a lesson I want you to take from this. When you can describe your reader precisely, CoStar writes to what the reader, not to the generic average person. Our last framework is a heavy duty one for when the deliverables is a plan. So this fifth framework, final framework, is risen: role, instructions, steps, end goal, and narrowing. This is the heavy duty option built for complex multi-step work. And its two distinct slots are steps and narrowing. Steps ask the model to work through a process in order than just jumping straight to an answer. And that produces noticeably more thorough, more structured thinking. Narrowing is where you set the guardrails, your priorities, your constraints, what to focus on and what to ignore. That's what keeps a big open-ended task realistic instead of just sprawling all over the place. You want to reach for risen when you're planning a workflow redesign, an AI readiness assessment, for example, a training program, a roadmap. This is the framework a leader picks when the deliverable is a plan, not a paragraph. It's also the natural bridge into our upcoming webinar, webinar 3, which is entirely about building repeatable workflows. So let's look at 4 plans Risen can help you draft. These examples show Risen producing actual plans, not just, paragraphs. In operations, it improves this workflow. It maps the current steps, find the bottlenecks, and propose a streamlined process. That's a genuine analysis exercise, not a writing a task. In strategy, build an AI readiness plan that assesses our tools, our data, and our skills, and then prioritizes practical next steps. In HR, design a staff AI training program with modules, sequencing, and success measures for each level. And for leadership, develop an executive AI roadmap that's phased with priorities set and risks and dependencies flagged. In every one of these, the step slot is forcing structured reasoning, and the narrowing slot keeps the scope realistic for small and mid-sized business or mid-market context. I do want to be honest about what you're getting. These are starting drafts that a leader refines. Risen accelerates your planning. It doesn't replace your judgment. And again, like I mentioned earlier, do not abdicate your responsibility to AI. Now that we've covered all 5 frameworks, let's put them to work department by department, starting with operations. So let's shift from frameworks to where you're actually use them. Starting with operations, I put operations first because it's usually the fastest place to see value when using AI. So much of the work is documentation and process, and that's actually what AI is good at. Think about what's on this side. You can hand AI a rough description and get back a standard operating procedure. You can turn a messy, undocumented process into a clean documentation. You can ask it to analyze a workflow and surface the bottlenecks you've stopped noticing because you're in the heat of battle. You can build vendor management checklists. You can plan where automation would actually pay off instead of just guessing. Now, I want to be clear about the division of labor. These are first drafts that an operation leader refines. The model does the heavy lifting on structure and completeness. You supply judgment and the local knowledge that no model has. If you're wondering where to begin, start with SOP creation because before and after savings are dramatic by using AI. Next, let's look at some human resources issues here. Human resources is a natural fit because HR teams handle constant stream of writing and structuring work, and AI is strong partner for all of this. It can build an onboarding plan tailored to a specific role. It can draft training materials. It can generate structured interview guides that keep your hiring consistent and fair. It can summarize a dense policy into plain language people will actually read and can help draft sensitive employee communications with the right tone. That tone piece is where the framework craft and the framework co-star really earn their keep, because in HR, how something is said matters as how much is what was said. And here's the critical caution, and I'm going to say it early and repeat it later. Never paste confidential employee data into a public AI model, okay? If real personal information is involved, use an approved secure tool like Microsoft 365 Copilot. And we'll come back to this in the responsible AI section. So let's move on now to sales. Sales is where AI buys back time and adds consistency, and both of those show up in the pipeline. AI can search an account and surface the priorities that customer is likely facing. It can generate sharp discovery questions for a first call. It can draft follow-up emails that actually get sent instead of sitting in your drafts folder forever. It can summarize a long proposal into a crisp executive overview, and it can rehearse objection handling with you so your reps walk in prepared instead of improvising. This is critical. I've used this model myself, well, this type of work in sales. It's incredible how it can help you improve the sales capabilities of your people. I was really shocked on the back and forth I had regarding objections, and it's really great. The frameworks map neatly here. Use RTF for a quick discovery question. Use RACE for account research, and CoStar when you're writing to an executive. But I want to say this plainly. AI does not replace relationship selling. What it removes is the preparation drag, so your reps spend more of their day in genuine conversations with the right customers. And as always, keep customer-specific data inside approved, secure tools. Okay? Marketing is next, and it may be the most obvious fit of AI of all. Marketing is a natural fit because so much of the work is content creation, and the blank page is the enemy of the marketer. And trust me, I know this. AI can outline a full campaign. It can draft an entire email nurture sequence. It can generate social posts adapted for each platform rather than one post copied everywhere. It can write your webinar promotion copy. It can produce landing page drafts. You can test again for each other. Craft, the framework Craft and the framework CoStar are the go-to frameworks here because tone and audience are what decide whether the content actually lands. One guardrail I'd emphasize: our style is credible and no hype. So tell the model that explicitly. If you don't define the voice, you'll get generic marketing babble language, full of explanation points. AI accelerates volumes and iteration, and that's genuinely valuable, but the marketer still owns the brand voice, factual, accuracy, and the final polish before anything goes out to the public. Now, let's look at some finance and leadership areas where we can work with these tools. For finance and leadership, the value of AI is turning complexity into clarity. It can summarize a budget for a non-financial audience, which is harder than it sounds. And again, these things are very meaningful to me because I've been through these. I've had to explain complex topics to layman folks, and AI really helps, break the noise. It can explain what's actually driving a forecast. It can structure a risk analysis so nothing obvious gets missed. It can act as a thinking partner in strategic planning, and it can compress long material into tight executive brief. Now, the framework RACE and Risen are the frameworks that fit this work best because both force structured reasoning. Two cautions here. I want to state plainly. First, verify every number. AI can present confident figures that are just simply wrong. So treat the output as a draft to check, never as a source of truth. Second, keep sensitive financial data inside secured approved tools. With those guardrails in place, this is a genuine time saver for people in your organization who have the least time to spare. That brings us to tools most of us already own, okay? So we're going to talk about things that you are currently using. You're using one of them right now by being on this webinar. Everything we've covered so far is technique. Now let's talk about where you apply it, because most of you already own the tool. Microsoft 365 Copilot brings these prompting skills directly into Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, and Teams. There's no new app to learn, no copying and pasting between windows. The skills we've just practiced apply right into these flow of work. I want to make the security point clearly because it's central to how we at IT Pros Management Group think about this. With business Copilot running on your tenant, your prompts and your company data stay inside your Microsoft 365 environment, and they are not used to train public models. That is the real difference between typing into a free public model like ChatGPT or Claude that are just, you go to the website and you start typing information, using something built for the enterprise. It's the same reason I keep saying to keep employee, customer, and financial data in approved tools. Over the next few slides, I'll show you exactly what Copilot does in each app with example prompts you can try. So let's start with Microsoft Word. Word is where Copilot shines for anyone who writes, which is basically everyone, basically in this session. It can draft a document from a short brief. It can summarize a long report in seconds. It can rewrite a passage for tone and clarity. It can produce an executive brief out of detailed documents, and it can turn your rough notes into a structured content. Look at the example prompts on the right. Draft a one-page project proposal from these bullet points. Summarize this 12-page report into key takeaways. Rewrite this section in a more executive, concise tone. Notice they still follow everything we've discussed. There's a clear task, a specified output format, and usually a length or a tone constraint. My advice is to start with summarization because the time savings on long documents are immediate and obvious. Once you trust what it gives you, move on to drafting and review every draft before it leaves your outbox. So now let's look at Excel, where things, I think the impact is even bigger. Excel is where Copilot removes a real skills barrier. A lot of every capable business people avoid deep Excel work because why? Formulas and analysis feel technical to them. Copilot changes that equation. Keyword equation, funny for Excel, right? It can analyze a data set and surface the trends. It can spot outliers. It can suggest a formula and explain what it does. It could recommend the right chart for your data. It can explain what's driving a change in numbers. Look at the prompts here. Analyze the sales data and highlight the top 3 trends. What formula calculates quarter-over-quarter growth here? Explain why revenue dropped in this region last month. That means a manager can ask questions in plain English instead of wrestling with some crazy pivot table. 2 reminders here. Keep sensitive financial data inside the secured tenant, and always sanity check the analysis. Copilot is a fast analyst, but you own the interpretation and the decision, you the human. This pairs beautifully with the RACE framework for structured analysis, okay? Now, next up is Outlook, and this is one of the most people, will feel first if they start using AI and Copilot. Second here. So Outlook is the everyday time saver. Most people notice immediately because email is where the day disappears into. Trust me, I know. Copilot can summarize a long, messy email thread so you can catch up in seconds instead of scrolling through 40 replies. It can draft responses in your voice. It can adjust tone and length on demand. It can extract action items, who owns them, and it can prepare you for follow-up messages. For leaders drowning in email, thread summarization by itself can save real time every single day. Just by using that one piece of Copilot in your Outlook, you will see a benefit. Trust me on that. Look at how specific these example prompts are. Summarize this email thread and list what I need to decide. Draft a polite reply declining this meeting and proposing next week. Pull out every action item and who owns it from this thread. That specificity is what gives you a useful answer. And remember, Copilot drafts, you still read it, you still hit send. Honestly, this is often the best place to start a Copilot pilot because the value in instance is risk and the risk is low. So the next one is going to be PowerPoint, one of my favorites because I live in PowerPoint. PowerPoint Copilot turns context into decks and decks back into content. If you generate a first draft presentation from a prompt or from an existing Word document, it can add slides on a specific topic. It can tighten up the structure of a rough deck. It can summarize long presentations down to the essentials. The prompts on the right show you how. Create a 10-slide overview deck from this Word document. Add 3 slides explaining our onboarding process. Summarize this 40-slide deck into an executive one-paper. Now, let me be honest about expectations because I don't want to overpromise. Copilot gives you a solid starting scaffold, not a finished on-brand deck. You still refine the design and sharpen the message. But if you're someone who spends hours building decks from scratch, that scaffold is worth a lot. My recommendation is to start from the Word to deck path and edit from there, rather than starting from a blank slide, okay? I'm going to add a little bit of more information here on PowerPoint because I use this a lot. This presentation was built with helping Copilot. Copilot did, I would say, about 60% of the work, the design, the structure, and obviously my expertise was 40%. So I read this over and over again, but it really saved time and allowed me to put in more, fine points into it, not worrying about the colors and the structure and all that. AI took care of that. Copilot took care of that for me, but I was able to go through and actually provide much better information that only I know from my expertise. So just adding that little bit of context, specifically around PowerPoint, because I do so much of it. So let's look at Teams. Let's talk about Copilot and Teams. And if your organization is meeting heavy, this one tends to be the game changer. Copilot can recap meetings automatically, summarize a long chat conversation, identify the decisions that were actually made, and list out the action items along with who owns them. It also lets someone who missed a meeting catch up in about a minute instead of sitting through a recording. The prompts on the right show you how simple this is. You can say, hey, recap this meeting and list the decisions and action items. Or, what did I miss in the channel while I was away? Or you could say, summarize where we landed on the budget discussion. For leaders who genuinely can't be in every room, this is enormous. You stay informed without having to attend everything. Notice the theme building across these 5 apps. The real payoff with Copilot is reclaimed time and fewer things falling through the cracks. And that's exactly what webinar 3, the next webinar we have in this series, will help you operationalize, okay? So we've been talking about you using these products. Webinar 3, which is a little preview, is going to show you how you can take these processes, frameworks, all these different things we've talked about and put them into operation for the organization. Now, let's be honest for a minute about what goes wrong, okay? It's not all sunshine and unicorns, all right? This slide is the honest what goes wrong list. And I want you to use it as a diagnostic tool. In my experience, almost every disappointing AI result traces back to one of these 7. Being too vague, forgetting the audience, not specifying the format, missing context, the context that only you have in your head, and you're asking for final finished work too early instead of iterating your way there. The last 2 are about risk rather than quality. Entering sensitive data carelessly into a public tool that can expose confidential information and trusting output without review is how errors up in front of your customers is not good. Here's the good news, and I want you to hear it positively. Every single one of these mistakes maps directly back to one of the prompt ingredients and frameworks we covered earlier today. Good prompting plus 1 human review step at the end. Prevents almost all of them. So let's flip this around and look at what good actually looks like. Here's a positive counterpart to the last list. It's core to how we work at IT Pros Management Group. We are security first, as I mentioned, and we believe in responsible enablement. 6 practices. Review all outputs because a human always owns the final result. And again, I'm going to say it again. Don't abdicate your responsibility to AI. Treat AI as a first draft, never the final word. Protect sensitive data by keeping anything confidential inside a secured, approved tool rather than public chatbots. Use approved tools, which means standardizing on enterprise-grade AI like Microsoft 365 Copilot, so that data governance is built in rather than bolted on. Verify facts because AI can be confidently wrong. So check the numbers, the names, and the claims before you rely on them. And then the 2 that scale across your organization, set prompt standards so you capture your best prompts and the whole company benefits instead of one power user. So that means if you create a really good prompt, share it. Don't be don't be selfish. Share it with the team because you're helping the organization by adding that prompt that AI can grow and build on and help your peers as well. And train your people because adoption and safety both depend on skills. This is exactly the kind of governance work we help clients put into place. So how do you sequence all of it? Okay, so let's kind of put it all together here towards the end of the webinar. Let me give you a clear sequence because AI feels overwhelming until you break it into phases. 6 steps, all right? First, assess your current tools, your data quality, your team skills, so you know where you're actually starting from. Second, prioritize the handful of use cases with the highest value and the lowest risk. Third, pilot with a small willing team so you learn cheaply and quickly. Fourth, standardize what works into shared prompts and simple playbooks. Fifth, govern data and usage so that security compliance keeps pace with what people are doing. 6, scale across the business, but on a proven foundation rather than a hopeful one. The mistake I see most often is companies jumping straight to scale or buying tools before they've assessed anything or plotted anything. A phased approach is what turns AI from a set of experiments into dependable, measurable business outcomes. This roadmap is the backbone of how we help our clients adopt AI, which brings me to why strategy matters more than tooling. I want to be direct about something before we get into next steps. Buying an AI tool is not a strategy. AI success takes more than tools, and the organization getting real results are the ones treating it as a capability to build rather than a purchase to make. 5 things have to work together. The right use cases, so you're pointing AI at problems worth solving. Governance around your data and how people use it. Training, so your team can actually prompt well. Adoption, so it becomes a habit instead of a little novelty that fades after 2 weeks. And measurable outcomes, so you know whether any of it is working. Organizations that treat AI as one-off tool purchase get very disappointing results, and quietly they'll just give up and abdicate it and just walk away from it. Organizations that build these 5 together get value that compounds month over month. This is precisely where IT Pros Management Group helps, and it's the bridge to the 2 next steps I want to offer you. So let's talk about the first one. So here's my invitation to you. I'd like to offer you an AI business strategy call with me, and if it's genuinely a no pressure type of call, it's really a business call. Here's what we do together on that call. We identify the AI use cases that would create the biggest impact in your specific business, not generic ones. We review whether you're actually ready for Microsoft 365 Copilot. Honestly, we discuss governance and data security up front rather than something after the fact. Then we map practical workflow opportunities across your departments. And we leave you with a realistic AI adoption roadmap that follows the phases we just walked through. So I want to be clear about the promise here. This is a working session. It's designed to deliver value to you, whether or not you ever engage us further. I'm not going to guarantee you magic. What I will give you is a clear, practical path tailored to your business. My contact details are on the closing slide, so you can book directly. And there's a second way to keep us going. There's a QR code on the screen here. That'll take you right to my Calendly link for an AI business strategy call. And you can book a call with me right there. It's about a 45-minute call, and you're more than welcome to do that. So if you're interested, take a snapshot of that or scan that QR code, and that will get you on the first step. Okay? Excuse me. The second step keeps you on the journey. So webinar 3 in this series is called From Prompting to Productivity, and it's the natural continuation of what we're doing today or what we talked about today. Today we learn how to communicate with AI as individuals. Next time, we turn that skill into secure, repeatable workflows across your whole business. Here's what we'll cover. We're going to cover AI workflow design, Copilot adoption planning, how to spot automation opportunities hiding in your existing processes, governance basics that won't slow you down, and department level AI action plans you can actually hand to your team leads or team department heads. Think of it this way. Today was about individual skill. Webinar 3 is where that becomes an organizational capability, which is where the real return lies. I'd encourage you to register today. You can scan that QR code on the screen to do that, to go to the registration page for that webinar while it's top of mind. Even if you also book a strategy call with me, both paths reinforce the same message, which is a practical, secure, measurable AI adoption. So let me leave you with one final thought here. We're almost done with the webinar. If you remember one sentence from today, I want it to be this one. The future belongs to organizations that think clearly, prompt effectively, use AI responsibly, and operationalize what works. Notice what's not in that sentence. The advantages not go to whoever buys the most AI tools or signs up for the most platforms. It goes to organizations that can think clearly about the actual problems. Prompt effectively so AI gives them real help instead of generic filler. Use AI responsibly so they aren't creating risk while chasing productivity. And operationalize what works so the gains stick instead of fading away. And notice that this mirrors our entire session. Clear thinking was the big idea we opened with. Effective prompting was the frameworks and ingredients in the middle. Responsible use and governance section, and operationalizing is the roadmap for webinar 3. That's the whole story in one line. So let me say thank you and what, making the next steps look like kind of easy for you. I want to genuinely thank you for your time and your attention today. I know an hour is a real commitment. I hope you're walking away with prompts you can use tomorrow morning. Let's put AI to work clearly and responsibly. 2 ways to keep going. Next, step 1, schedule your AI business strategy call so we can find your highest value IT opportunities together. Next, step 2, register for webinar 3, From Prompting to Productivity. My contact details are on are they on the screen here? No, they're not. Big mistake there. I have your emails from your registration, so I will send you my contact information. You have emails from me anyway, so you already have my contact information. So we want to make sure that you guys are following these steps and move forward in time. Final piece here. Before you close your laptops, here's something you can use, the minute this webinar ends. 5 copy and paste prompt starters, 1 per function, built on frameworks we covered today. For operations, act as operations lead, create an SOP. For an HR manager, draft an onboarding plan organized by week. For sales, act as a sales strategist, research a company and give them tailored talking points for first call. For marketing, write a post on promoting offer tone, credible, clear, no hype for a named audience. And for leadership, summarize a document into a one-page executive brief. Notice the pattern: a role, a clear task, and a specified format or tone. Screenshot this slide, fill in the brackets with your own specifics, and try one today. Then start a shared prompt library with ones that work. That's your first step toward prompt standards. All right. So if anybody has any questions, they can pop them into the Q&A. We've got, we've got 1 minute left. But again, you guys do have my contact information because all the emails that have gone out to you for registration and reminding you of this webinar, feel free to email me if you have any questions. This was recorded. We will be sending the recording out to everybody that registered and allow you to revisit it as well. So with that, we're down to 1 minute. Again, thank you everybody for attending the webinar. I hope to see everybody on webinar 3. That one's going to be great. It's going to really give us the next step of really implementing AI into your business. I think all of you have become much better prompters than about 95% of the people out on the planet right now. So you're way ahead of the crowd just by attending this 1 hour webinar. Again, thank you everybody. Have a great day, good afternoon, and a good weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.